Meta is entering its post-truth era. Nintendo is delaying Switch 2 US pre-orders following Trump's tariffs. And researchers who made miso in space say it tastes good, but different. It's Monday, April 7th, and this is your morning roundup of tech news from Engadget. Earlier this year, Mark Zuckerberg announced that Meta would be ditching its long-running fact-checking program, claiming that it has enabled too much censorship on the company's apps. Now, Meta has set an end date for fact-checking on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, at least for its U.S. users. Meta's policy chief Joel Kaplan wrote in a social media post, "By Monday afternoon, our fact-checking program in the U.S. will be officially over. That means no new fact-checks and no fact-checkers." Instead, Meta has been slowly ramping up community notes. Meta began allowing potential contributors to sign up in February. It began testing the system earlier this month, which will initially be powered by the same algorithm as community notes on X. But the crowdsourced fact-checks have yet to appear publicly on posts. It sounds like that's also about to change with the official end of Meta's existing fact-checking partners. Though Meta has said it wants to eventually end fact-checking entirely, the company has said relatively little about its plans for community notes outside of the U.S. That may be because officials in other countries like Brazil and the European Union have already expressed concern about how the change could affect the flow of disinformation around the world. Meta's push to end fact-checking in the U.S. came early this year alongside several other policy changes that marked a notable rightward shift for the social network, just as President Donald Trump took office. The company also ended corporate DEI programs, rolled back hate speech protections on its services, and added a close Trump ally to its board. Nintendo has delayed U.S. Switch 2 pre-orders in response to the new set of tariffs announced by President Donald Trump last week. Following Nintendo's announcement of the console on Wednesday, pre-orders in the U.S. were slated to open on the 9th. They're now delayed indefinitely. Nintendo officially announced the Switch 2 on April 2nd. Hours later, the Trump administration said it would impose a sweeping set of new tariffs targeted against a broad swath of countries, including Japan, China, and Vietnam. Products from the latter two countries, where Nintendo manufactures much of its hardware, will be subject to import duties of 54% and 46%, respectively. In the U.S., Nintendo said the Switch 2 would cost $450. As Polygon noted, sticker shock was already dominating the conversation around Nintendo's new handheld, with many fans begging the company to drop the price of the console during its recent live streams. It is unclear what could happen following Nintendo's assessment of the situation, but one possibility is that the company could allocate less stock for the U.S. market. If you were wondering whether it be possible to ferment foods in space, the answer is apparently yes. In a study published in the journal iScience, researchers from the U.S. and Denmark say they were able to make decent-tasting miso on the International Space Station, but the flavor and smell was distinct from that of miso made on Earth. While it still scored well in the taste tests, with similar ratings to Earth miso in qualities like umami and saltiness, the ISS miso was found to taste nuttier and more roasted than the usual stuff. The team suggested the findings reflect a sort of space terroir, playing off the term often used in relation to wine grapes to describe unique location-specific flavor characteristics. For the study, the researchers sent a package containing the miso paste ingredients to the ISS in March of 2020 and let it ferment for 30 days. They also started miso batches back at home and monitored the environmental conditions of each setup. After a month, the space miso was sent back and analyzed in comparison to the Earth batches. Joshua D. Evans of Technical University of Denmark said there are some features of the space environment in low Earth orbit, in particular microgravity and increased radiation, that could have impacts on how microbes grow and metabolize, and thus how fermentation works. Not only were there differences in flavor, including the notable roasted nuttiness of the space miso, but also in the microbial composition of the miso. The team concluded that overall the space miso is a miso, but says the findings suggest a specific fermentation environment in space. Thanks for listening. There's more to these stories and more tech news at Engadget.com. This episode featured journalism from Carissa Bell, Igor Bonifasic, and Cheyenne McDonald, and was voiced and produced from the sound studios of Spoken Layer. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with more tech news from Engadget.